Despite arriving on the very day one of the worst cyclones in recent Sri Lankan history struck the island, the journey that followed became one of my most memorable trips, filled with unexpected places, unforgettable experiences, and some of the nicest people I've ever met. My trip began at Delhi's domestic airport, where I was supposed to catch a connecting flight to Bangalore before heading onward to Colombo. However, due to ash drift from the recent Ethiopian volcanic explosion, my Delhi to Bangalore flight was delayed, causing me to miss my evening connection from Bangalore to Colombo. The airline rebooked me on a 9 a.m. flight the next morning and arranged a hotel for the night. So that unexpected layover became part of the journey. The next morning, I finally landed in Colombo at around 11 a.m., descending through thick clouds and heavy rain. After a quick immigration, I picked up an eSIM, exchanged some currency, booked a cab, and made my way through the heavy rains to my hotel. After settling in the hotel, I set out for the very first destination in a tuk-tuk, which was the Gangaramaya temple, one of the oldest Buddhist temples in Colombo, where the first thing I noticed was a huge wall carving depicting various scenes from the life of the Buddha. Inside the temple was a museum showcasing a wide variety of antiques like coins, statues, books, and furniture from different parts of the world. The central shrine houses a beautiful golden Buddha, surrounded by smaller, finely carved Buddha statues, many of which are found even on the roof of the building behind the main shrine. What really stood out was how the temple blends Buddhist and Hindu art so seamlessly, with statues of Hindu gods and goddesses carved right outside the main shrine. Overall, the place felt like a unique blend of various architectural styles from various eras and cultures. After visiting the Gangaramaya temple, I set out for the Colombo National Museum, walking through the Vihara Mahadevi Park along the way, Colombo's oldest and largest public park. Established in 1877, the Colombo National Museum houses a vast collection of artifacts spanning the entire history of Sri Lanka, from prehistoric tools and ancient jewelry to early modern weaponry, all set within a beautiful 19th century Italian-style building. After a quick stroll through the museum gardens, I grabbed a coffee at the nearby restaurant and then set out on foot, walking through the streets of Colombo with an umbrella in hand, enjoying the rain as I eventually reached the Independence Square. The square has a monument with a statue of the first Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Don Stephen Senayake, and a memorial hall built to commemorate the independence of Sri Lanka from British rule in 1948. I also checked out the nearby stylish colonial era building, which was once a mental asylum but is now a shopping center called the Arcade. Next, I headed to another iconic landmark in Colombo, the Lotus Tower. True to its name, the structure is shaped like a lotus, and as the evening sets in, the top of the tower lights up, glowing in changing colors. With that, I called it a day and headed back to my hotel, stopping at a nearby restaurant for dinner. The next morning, I set out once again in a tuk-tuk to the railway station to board my train to Kandy, only to find that all services had been cancelled due to the cyclone-induced floods. With the change in plans, I decided to stay back for another day in Colombo, quickly found a new hotel, and headed out to grab breakfast at a nearby spot. The change in plans gave me more time to explore Colombo, starting with the nearby Hindu temple and then the Sima Malaka temple. Constructed in the middle of the Beira Lake during the 19th century, the Buddhist shrine is used mainly for meditation and rest. The temple consists of 3 platforms, each adorned with seated Buddha statues in different mudras, all connected to the mainland by pontoon bridges. On one side is a Bodhi tree along with shrines of Hindu deities. The place looks strangely picturesque against a backdrop of the rain falling over the lake. Next, I headed over to the Sea Street in Petta, which has some Hindu temples in the Dravidian style of architecture, with vibrant, colorful gopurams filled with ornate sculptures of various deities. I continued walking down the road and arrived at the shrine of St. Anthony, a Catholic church dedicated to St. Anthony of Padua. It was built in a neoclassical style during the 1800s and houses the remains of St. Anthony in a special reliquary at the church's entrance. I left the church and continued exploring the Petta area when an interesting looking building caught my eye from a distance. Curious, I decided to check it out, only to discover that it was the famous Jami ul Alfar Mosque, a popular tourist site and one of the oldest mosques in Colombo. Built in 1909, this striking red and white, candy-striped two-storied structure features a vibrant facade, intricate detailing, and pomegranate-shaped domes, beautifully reflecting its Indo-Saracenic architectural style. I then set out on a half-hour tuk-tuk ride to a place just outside Colombo that I had planned to visit the day before, but couldn't due to a lack of time, the Kaleniya Raja Mahavihara. Considered one of the most important Buddhist temples in Sri Lanka, this sacred site is believed to have been hallowed during the third and final visit of the Buddha to the island over 2500 years ago. According to traditional records, the original stupa at Kaleniya once enshrined a gem-studded throne on which the Buddha sat and preached, a gift offered by the Naga kings of Kaleniya. The temple houses a large reclining image of Gautam Buddha, along with detailed paintings that beautifully depict key moments from the Buddha's life. The temple lies close to the Kalani Ganga river, which had its waters overflowing after days of cyclone rains. My final stop was the Colombo Fort area, known for its colonial era buildings, including the old Colombo lighthouse built in 1857. There I found a restaurant to have dinner and ordered a plate of a dish called kattu, which I really liked. After dinner, I spent some more time exploring the Dutch hospital area. By then, the rains had stopped and the cyclone had passed. I made my way back to the hotel, still unsure about what my plans were for the next day. The next morning, I checked out of the hotel, having decided to leave Colombo and head to Anuradhapura. To get there, I would be taking a bus. The rain had finally stopped, but the skies were still heavy with clouds. I first boarded a bus to Dambala, and along the way passed vast stretches of flooded farmlands and villages in the aftermath of the cyclone. We stopped briefly for snacks en route, and finally reached Dambala at around 4 pm. After waiting a couple of hours, I got on a connecting bus to Anuradhapura, got down after about an hour, and then after a short wait boarded another final bus to the city. It was drizzling at the time the bus arrived. I walked to the hotel I had just booked a reservation for a few hours earlier and checked in at around 9 pm, feeling relieved to have safely reached my destination from Colombo. I woke up the next morning to a bright sunny view from my window, excited to finally explore the ancient city of Anuradhapura. The hotel owner was kind enough to lend me a map marked with all the major landmarks and guided me on the best way to cover the city's highlights over the next 2 days. And so, I hopped on a tuk-tuk and headed to the very first stop on my itinerary for the day, the Isirumuniya temple. Built in the 3rd century BCE by King Devanam Tissa in its capital city of Anuradhapura, it originally served as a monastic complex. The temple is carved into a rock cliff that appears to rise straight out of a pond, and features beautiful stone carvings, including an elephant and a horseman dating to the 7th century CE. Atop the cliff stands a dagoba, constructed during a later period, adding yet another layer to the site's long and fascinating history. Visible from the temple in the distance was a massive white monument that I was to visit next. I decided to walk over to it and soon arrived at the Sandahiru Saya, the second largest hemispherical stupa in Sri Lanka. Its construction began in 2010 to commemorate the fallen war heroes of the Sri Lankan Civil War, which ended in 2009 and was officially inaugurated in 2021. I then visited a nearby temple that featured a towering Buddha statue sheltered beneath a canopy, with an open gathering space in front. After leaving the temple, I continued walking towards my next stop. Along the way, I noticed the ruins of what looked like an ancient structure. Curious, I went in for a closer look and discovered that it was the remains of an ancient stupa known as the Dakina Vihara, dating all the way back to the 2nd century BCE. I continued walking along the road that led to the Mahamevnava Gardens, passing water-filled paddy fields that lined the way. Just outside the main entrance to the gardens lie the remains of an ancient monastery, once an important educational institution, constructed during the reign of King Buddhadasa in the 4th century BCE. This ancient park was created by King Mutisiva, the son of King Pandukavaya, the ruler who founded the city of Anuradhapura in the 4th century BCE. According to tradition, when construction of the park began, the area witnessed an unusually heavy downpour, giving rise to the name Mahamevnava, derived from Maha meaning great and Megha meaning cloud. The gardens are also home to the sacred Jai Shri Mahabodhi, a revered Bodhi tree believed to have been grown from a cutting of the southern branch of the original sacred Bodhi tree under which the Buddha attained enlightenment. Planted in 236 BCE by the Buddhist nun Sangamitta Mahatheri, daughter of the Indian Emperor Ashoka, it is considered to be the oldest living human-planted tree in the world. I continued my journey on foot to the next stop, the Lova Mahapaya, also known as the Brazen Palace. It was originally built during the reign of King Dutugemunu in the 2nd century BCE and rebuilt several times over the centuries. At its peak, the palace is believed to have had over 1,000 rooms and risen to 9 stories high, making it the tallest structure on the island for more than 1,000 years. Today, all that remains of the Brazen Palace are 1,600 neatly aligned granite columns, arranged in 40 precise rows. I set out walking once again, this time towards one of the world's tallest ancient monuments, the Roman Veli Mahasaya, also known as the Mahathupa, meaning the Great Stupa. Rising to a height of 103 meters and measuring nearly 290 meters in circumference, it dominates the sacred landscape of Anuradhapura. The original stupa, first built in 140 BCE, stood at around 55 meters and has since been renovated several times, most recently in the previous century. Enshrined within the stupa are two dona, or one quart, of the Buddha's relics, making it home to the largest collection of his relics anywhere in the world. From there, I followed a well-paved path that led me to the final destination in the Mahamevnava Park, the Thuparamaya, recognized as the earliest documented Buddhist temple in Sri Lanka. Its origins date back to the arrival of Mahinda Thera and the introduction of Buddhism to the island during the reign of King Devanam in the 3rd century BCE. The Thuparamaya Dagoba was originally built in the shape of a paddy heap and was destroyed and rebuilt multiple times over the centuries. The bell-shaped structure seen today dates back to its reconstruction in 1842. Next, I headed to the final spot and wrapped up the day, the Mirisavitya Vihara, a stupa built by King Dutugemunu in the 2nd century BCE on the very site where he is believed to have kept the Buddha's relics within a scepter. The next day began with a light breakfast, after which I headed out to explore the remaining half of the ancient city of Anuradhapura. I started at the Jetavana Museum, where I purchased the ticket that grants access to the museum as well as the various sites within the archaeological complex. The museum is a 1937 British colonial era building that houses various artifacts from the Jetavana monastery complex that flourished from the 3rd to the 10th centuries CE, which includes local and foreign ceramic vessels, statues, intaglio seals, coins, and beads. As you exit the museum, you step straight into the ruins of an ancient monastery that once served as the living quarters for monks who visited and resided here centuries ago. The vast compound spans approximately 5.6 hectares and is believed to have housed nearly 10,000 Buddhist monks at its peak. Dominating the landscape is the Jetavana Rama Stupa, rising an impressive 71 meters high. At one time, it was the tallest stupa and the 3rd tallest ancient monument in the world, surpassed only by the pyramids of Khafre and Khufu in Egypt. Built in the 3rd century CE by King Mahasena, the stupa is believed to enshrine a sacred relic, a portion of the belt worn by the Buddha. The construction of this monumental structure took nearly 15 years and required over 93 million bricks. Located just west of the main stupa is a remarkable 9th century image house attributed to King Sena I. The largest of its kind, it features a towering 27 feet high monastic entrance and once housed a colossal Buddha statue that stood nearly 37 feet tall. The next stop on my itinerary was the Lankaramaya Stupa. Established in the 1st century BCE by the king Valagamba, the complex originally consisted of a Vatadagi, which is a central circular shrine surrounded by a boundary wall, along with a Bodhi tree shrine, an image house, and a chapter house. Known then as the Mani Somarama, named after his queen Somadevi, the monastery is believed to have been intended for Buddhist nuns. A covered roof once stood here, supported by concentric rings of stone pillars, only a few of which remain standing today. Located close to Lankaramaya is the Ethpokuna, or Elephant Pond, an impressive ancient man-made reservoir which can hold an astonishing 75,000 cubic meters of water, once serving the 5,000 or so monks of the Abhayagiri Vihara. A network of underground canals channel water from the Periyam Kulama tank to the pond and have continued to function for several centuries. Close to the tank is the main alms hall, also known as the main refectory, which was once the place where monks of the Abhayagiri monastery gathered each day for their meals. Designed in a square layout with a distinctive sunken floor, it features stone-raised troughs and kitchen facilities, all built in the 1st century BCE. The site also features masterfully carved semicircular stone slabs known as moonstones, placed at the entrances to monks' residences built in the 8th century CE, symbolizing the cycle of samsara in Buddhism, and a renowned 7-foot dolomite marble Buddha statue built in the 3rd or the 4th century CE. The final stop for the day was the Abhayagiri Stupa, around which the entire Abhayagiri monastic complex is centered. Built in the 1st century BCE by King Valagamba, this massive bell-shaped structure rises to a height of around 120 meters. Constructed primarily of brick and lime mortar, the dome rests on a square stone plinth enclosed by a parapet. 4 entrances are built into the plinth, one at each cardinal point, each fronted by a guardhouse and elaborate frontispieces in the form of stone sculptures and carved stelae. And just like that, my time in Anuradhapura came to an end. 2 days, over 2000 years of history, and memories that will stay with me long after I've left. The road now led to Sigiriya and beyond, and I'll be sharing all of it with you in the next vlog. Till then, goodbye, and I'll see you next time.